This is the new S26 Ultra, which at a first glance it looks almost identical to the S25 Ultra from last year, but it actually comes with some pretty big upgrades. 8 upgrades that I'm considering quite substantial. Okay, so the first upgrade, and honestly the highlight feature of the S26 Ultra, is the new privacy display. This is the coolest feature I've seen on a phone in the past 5 years. And I'm not even kidding. It's kind of like in the leaks, only even better. So you know how you can buy those privacy screen protectors for your phone? Well, the S26 Ultra, and only the Ultra, has this built in. The way it works, according to what Samsung told me, is that normally on an OLED display you've got subpixels for both front viewing and wide-angle viewing. What Samsung is doing here is they're dimming the wide-angle subpixels to focus the image just towards your face, therefore creating this privacy display effect. But it gets even better, because unlike a regular privacy screen protector, you can turn this one on and off from the settings whenever you wish. And it's very effective too. It even blocks the vertical view and not just the horizontal. So if I compare it against my iPhone with a physical privacy screen protector, the S26 Ultra's implementation is actually better, thanks to also blocking vertical viewing. And you can also customize this quite heavily. You can have it only when you enter a password or a PIN. You can enable it in specific apps or toggle it just for notifications, which makes only that part of the screen go private. It's honestly such a great feature, and I love how customizable it is, because you see, the problem with regular privacy screen protectors like the one on my iPhone here is that when my phone is sitting flat on a table, I cannot see anything from the side. Well, the S26 Ultra solves this by letting you customize when the privacy screen turns on and off. Like, you can even enable this max mode so that it's even more effective. And I honestly just wish that every phone had this, because it's such a revolutionary and actually useful feature. And of course, you should pair it with a stunning wallpaper from our app, Wallpapers. Just make sure to turn that privacy display off so that people around you can see just how awesome your display looks. Now, that's really the main feature of the S26 Ultra. So thank you guys for watching. But no, I'm just joking. There are a few more. For example, the thickness. The S26 Ultra is now just 7.9mm thin, or 0.3mm thinner than the S25 Ultra, which actually makes it the thinnest flagship phone I've ever used. In fact, it is now almost a full millimeter thinner than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which honestly feels like a brick compared to this S26 Ultra. The non-Ultra models are the same as before, so the base is just 7.2, which actually feels unreal for a non-Air or Edge phone, while the S26 Plus is 7.3, same as last year, but still crazy thin. Weight-wise, the S26 Ultra is lighter at 214 grams, down from 218, while the S26 Plus stays at 190, and the S26 is actually heavier by 5 grams at 167. So those leaks saying that it would be around 130 grams and lighter than an iPhone 13 mini were all wrong and way too good to be true. However, they all feel great in the hand. They're crazy thin and arguably still one of the lightest flagships out there. Now, the reason why they aren't much lighter is because of the new Vapour Chamber in all models. That offers 29% more heat dissipation in the standard S26, more than 20% in the S26 Plus, and 21% more in the S26 Ultra. Of course, that's much needed because we have some serious performance upgrades. The S26 Ultra now comes with a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy chip. That's the overclocked and optimized version of the standard 8 Elite Gen 5. And this actually makes the S26 Ultra the most powerful Android phone that you can buy right now, either with 12 or 16 gigs of RAM if you pick the 1TB model, and with noticeably faster performance in all aspects compared to the S25 Ultra, especially in the AI department. Now, the S26 and the S26 Plus, they both come with Samsung's latest Exynos 2600 chip. That applies to the international model only. And then for the North American, Japan, and China model, we get the same Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 as the S26 Ultra. And I gotta say, the Exynos 2600 does actually offer a solid performance uplift over the Exynos 2500 in the international S25. And it is also the world's first 2nm chip. So I wouldn't worry too much about not having the Snapdragon model. It's more than powerful enough for pretty much anyone, and with that larger Vapour Chamber, you'll get better sustained performance too. But before I move on to the camera changes, there's one more thing that I want to mention, and it's not our wallpapers, although you should still check them out. I'm talking about a titanium frame from the S24 and the S25 Ultra. That's now gone and replaced by aluminium. Apple did the same with the iPhone 17 Pro, so I do wonder if this is all connected. On one hand, I do miss titanium as it's more durable and it also feels more premium, but on the other hand, I'm really happy we can finally get the same colored frame as the back. Speaking of colors, these are black, white, blue, and purple on all models. I gotta say the black looks really nice and very stealthy, although I'm also a big fan of the purple, which is the hero color for this year. There are two more colors on the S26 Ultra, Silver Shadow and Pink Gold, if you order from the Samsung online store, although we didn't really have these on display when I was checking them out. Okay, let's talk cameras. The S26 and the S26 Plus, they've got the same camera hardware as last year, and all previous years down to 2022, because yes, all three back cameras actually have not changed at all since the S22. That's the 5th year in a row with 0 camera hardware upgrades, which is very disappointing. But I guess that works for Samsung. Photos do actually look good, and we do get a newer ISP thanks to the new chip, so the image quality will still be better than on the S25. It's just that not changing the hardware for 5 years, man, I just wish they used bigger and newer sensors like the Chinese competitors. But yeah, Apple does the same thing, Google also does the same thing, and if you're ever wondering why, well, we actually made a video about that right here. Now, the S26 Ultra does get some changes. The main sensor is still the same HP2 sensor from the S23 Ultra, but now with a larger aperture from f1.7 to f1.4 for 47% more light intake. Same for the 5x telephoto, that's the same as on the S24 Ultra, but now with a larger f2.9 as opposed to f3.4 aperture for 37% more light intake. I've taken some side-by-side samples, although I'm not allowed to show you these yet. What I can show you though is how the samples look on their screens. So in this 10x zoom shot, there is less noise on the S26 Ultra. But in this other shot of this T, or whatever this is, let me know down below, the S25 Ultra is actually sharper. And then in this other zoom shot, I am noticeably sharper and brighter on the S26 Ultra. And then in this front-facing camera shot, I guess the S26 Ultra is better. So yeah, all of this is thanks to that new ISP. And apparently night video actually got a major boost as well, although I wasn't really able to test this. Now, the ultra-wide camera is unchanged. However, there is a change when it comes to that 3x telephoto module. That was already a very tiny sensor, 1/3.52 inches, and there were rumors pointing to it becoming even smaller at 1/3.94. I did ask Samsung, although they couldn't confirm the sensor size, but they did tell me that this is a new sensor with actually better low light performance and better HDR performance. So my guess is that while the hardware may be downgraded, these improvements actually come from that new ISP. We also get the new APV codec to compete with Apple's ProRes for close to lossless video quality. And you can even do 8K video in APV with real-time AI processing, which is very impressive. But that's about it when it comes to the cameras. Definitely more changes than the initial rumors were pointing towards, but nothing groundbreaking. Okay, so what else is changing? Well, the charging. The S26 Ultra now charges at 60 watts up from 45, which means that it can charge up to 75% in just 30 minutes. Now that's a big upgrade, so I'm really happy to see this. Then wireless charging is also much improved at 25 watts and now supports Qi 2, although just like the rumors were saying, you do need to buy a separate case for this, as the magnets are not built into the phone. Samsung said that most people use a case anyways, and they wanted to prioritize making the phone thinner, which I guess does make sense, so I get why they've done this. However, I use my phones caseless, well, aside from the iPhone, which has a super soft aluminum, so that forces me to use it with a case. But anyway, when it comes to every other phone, I use them caseless. So for me, ideally, I would prefer MagSafe on all of my phones, so I'm quite sad to not see this built in. Then the S26 Plus sticks with 45 watts wired, but it does get faster wireless charging at 20 watts from 15, whereas the base model stays the same at 25 wired and 15 wireless. Now, the base S26 is actually the only one getting a larger battery at 4,300 mAh from 4,000. The Plus remains the same at 4,900 and the Ultra at 5,000. So all of those rumors about getting 5,200 were incorrect. And also, none of these are silicon carbon due to supply constraints from my understanding. And at number 8, we also get a lot of new Galaxy AI features. The biggest one is automation, basically true agentic AI. I wasn't able to film this, but essentially you can tell your phone to book an Uber at the correct time so you get to work without being late, and it will use the Uber app all by itself. It seems to be based on Gemini and exclusive to the S26 lineup, although we only have US and Korea at launch. There's also a creative studio app with ready-made templates for stickers and greeting cards. Then Audio Razor got a massive update, as you can now remove background noise from Netflix and YouTube while you're watching content. On top of this, you can also change the style of a photo you've just taken, either using templates or by typing what you want, and the AI will just regenerate that, which is pretty cool. And you also get something new called Now Nudge that automatically suggests messages replies based on the exact context and question that you're asked, which is quite similar to Google's own feature on the Pixels. And there's more. Perplexity is now available alongside Bixby 4.0 with even more powerful OS controls. Then Call Screen now supports AI to answer calls for you, similar to what we've seen from Google and Apple. And there's even more that I'm not even gonna talk about because there's just so much. All in all, I think Samsung actually has the most comprehensive suite of AI features on any phone right now. So there you go, that's the S26 lineup. A pretty minor upgrade for the S26 and the S26 Plus, and a much bigger upgrade than expected for the S26 Ultra. Mostly thanks to that privacy display and the 2 camera hardware upgrades on the telephoto and the main module. Oh, and the S Pen is still here in case you're wondering. Now, prices have gone up quite a bit. The base model is now £879 in the UK, up from £799, although it does come with 256GB of storage. Still £20 more than last year's 256GB model though. Then the S26 Plus starts from $1099, which is £100 more than before, while the S26 Ultra is now $1279 from $1249. However, if you pre-order using the link below, you get a special offer with double the storage. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the entire S26 lineup, and stay tuned for our camera comparison and on my in-depth review for the S26 Ultra. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.